Hello, my name is Charlie Schaub, and I did my passion project on veteran post-traumatic stress disorder and veteran homelessness. So, to give a definition of post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD and also known as shell shock, it is a mental health condition triggered by experiencing or seeing a terrifying event. Unknown to many people, PTSD is not just from veterans. Veterans are not the only people who suffer with it. About 3 million people in the U.S. this year suffer with some sort of PTSD, and about half the adult population at some point will suffer with PTSD. Veterans aren't the only ones who suffer from PTSD, but PTSD is very common among veterans. PTSD can happen to anyone basically if you suffer a traumatic event such as death of a family member or friend or accident or sexual abuse or abuse of any kind, just basically anything that traumatizes you in your life, but it is very common amongst veterans. Now, to give a run through of my presentation, I'll start off with why I chose the topic. So, I chose this topic because in the news recently I've been seeing a lot of scandals from the Department of Veterans Affairs on not giving veterans the support they need and making veterans wait too long for treatment for PTSD and treatment for medical diseases, and I'm just not seeing enough support that everyone should be giving to veterans because they gave so much for us, and there's really no excuse for why we shouldn't give back to them. So here are just two facts on why veteran PTSD is a problem nowadays. Uh, Veteran suicide is a huge problem and result of PTSD, as 25 veterans commit suicide per day or one suicide every 65 minutes. Combat veterans are not only more likely to have PTSD, but are also more likely to act on a suicidal plan. This basically means that veterans who have PTSD and have suicidal thoughts are more likely to actually commit suicide than other people that have depression or PTSD and have suicidal thoughts. So now just to show how common homelessness is with veterans, more than 300,000 veterans are living on the streets on any given night, and between 590,000 to 800,000 veterans are homeless anytime during the year. Now to show how common PTSD is, here are some quick facts. 11 to 20% of veterans who have served in Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom experience PTSD. 12% of Gulf War veterans have experienced PTSD, and 15% of Vietnam War veterans have PTSD. So now here are some ways to help veterans with PTSD and homelessness. So to help veterans with PTSD, you need to understand that anyone can feel trauma and anyone can suffer from mental illness as a result of this trauma. And you also need to think broadly about the person with PTSD. Don't just think about how they're affected, but also think about how the people around them, the people that love them, are affected too. And you need to be aware of where to get help for PTSD. This means knowing veteran advocacy groups, knowing local legislators, making sure you inform them about PTSD in your community, and just basically getting out there the information that you know people with PTSD and knowing places to help people with PTSD. And if you do know anyone with PTSD and they're really struggling with getting help and they have suicidal tendencies or they're damaging themselves, The best place to contact would be the Department of Veterans Affairs. They have a lot of help um, for veterans, but there's also a ton of veterans advocacy groups that are willing to help veterans that may even be better than the Department of Affairs. And some ways to help homeless veterans is determine the need in your community and contact local homeless veteran services. So if you're seeing a lot of homeless population in your community, that may be homeless veterans. And there, like I said, there are a lot of veteran advocacy groups that are very willing to help these veterans get off the streets, find good jobs, and yeah. So there's a lot of current action being taken. Like I said, there's a lot of veterans groups. There's lots of people who are willing to help veterans. Some famous or some big veteran groups are Foreign Legion. Um, let's see, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Department of Veteran Affairs. A big one, Wounded Warrior Project, that helps veterans get through not only physical wounds but mental wounds too. And so the main part of the presentation is my action. So for my action, I created a Twitter page in which I tweeted and retweeted information about veteran PTSD and homelessness. My main goal for this Twitter page was to inform everyone on PTSD and homelessness. And I also sent emails to a veteran advocacy group called AMVETS, and I sent an email to Speaker of the House John Boehner on my thoughts about how veterans need help and how the government should help them and how the government should fund them. So here are some screenshots from my Twitter page. My Twitter account is Veteran Info. And yeah, I just tweeted out and retweeted lots of information of veterans, and I followed a lot of veteran advocacy groups which tweeted out how veterans can get help and just basically informing people on veteran PTSD and homelessness. So here are some more just pictures of my Twitter account. And then this is my email I sent to a veteran advocacy group, basically just asking them what are some things that regular people can do to help veterans with PTSD and homelessness. I know donating is one thing that almost everyone knows to do, but just some ways to help veterans without having to donate money, but also just getting out there and helping veterans and helping with PTSD and homelessness. And then here is my email to Speaker of the House John Boehner. In this email, I basically told him that veterans are in need of funding to help them with PTSD, and that the government should stop cutting soldiers' pay, because that is basically the reason why so many veterans are coming home and they don't have any money, is because they're not being paid enough. And most of them can't even find jobs. So if they don't have enough money and can't even find jobs, then a lot of them end up on the streets. And also, veterans need funding for treatment programs to help them get over PTSD and help them get through the tough times they go through with PTSD. So yeah, here's just another picture of what I sent to John Boehner. So this is what I think should be done. There's a famous quote that says, "Some gave all, but all gave some." This basically means everyone in the United States gives some. Everyone pays their taxes. Their taxes go to the military, but some people give everything they have so that everyone in the U.S. can be free and we can all have our ideas and our beliefs, and we can all be peaceful. So I believe politicians should stop trying to cut the funds going to veterans groups and stop trying to cut soldiers' pays. And if they do need money, they should maybe stop spending so much money on useless things. And I think the most important thing right now is to help our veterans with PTSD and homelessness. So that is my passion project on veteran post-traumatic stress disorder and homelessness.